Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you're connecting from. Thank you for being with us today. I would like to warmly welcome you on behalf of RETP Group and Fortinet RE project team to this webinar. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Shadi Sadeghian, Head of Multimodal Spaces and Services of Metro Line 14 of Paris region. I'm also coordinator of the project and very honored to be moderator for today. It has been a long journey started in 2017. Several experts from different departments of RETP Group have contributed to this project, co-financed by the European Commission. That was also an excellent opportunity for us to work with the experts from outside the group, from the hospitality industry, from the airports, in order to build a cross-cutting approach on this topic and on this project. So let us share with you a short video summarizing the context and principal stakes of this project. Here we go. Great. So without any further ado, let me share with you our agenda for today. So for this webinar, we will have two main parts. On the first part, we will focus on the main conclusions and learning of the different steps of the project. And then we have a short Q&A session following with a panel discussion at the end. So, saying that, let's move to our first panel. We have the chance today to have Emmanuel Soloni, Director of Metro Line 14, my director actually, with us today. We have Sarah Black from our department of marketing today with us. She will share with us the conclusions of a client study conducted during the project. And finally, we have Joachim Nagai, Head of Design of RETP. He will share with us a set of propositions, service proposition, built in a holistic approach in this project as a final steps. So just before start, I would like to share two important points with you. First of all, this webinar would be fully in English, but you can find a recorded version, subtitled in French in few days on the website of the project. There you can find also the white paper of the project with the executive summary of different milestones and steps of the project, the different informations, and also the videos. So I invite you to go and visit this website. We have also, second point, the important one, we have also a chat box, so you can write all your questions to us. So you can share your feedbacks, so please don't hesitate. You can write them either in English or French. So that's all for me at this stage. Let's move to our presentations. Emmanuel, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Shadi. So I'm very happy and very honored to start the presentation of this webinar as a new director of the Line 14, because I've just started my job only 1 month ago. So I will discover with you all the conclusions of these studies. So first of all, let's start with the identity card of the Line 14. So this line was created in 1998, and this is the most recent metro line in Paris network. This line was created by thinking and foreseeing the future. Indeed, Line 14 is an automated metro line with high capacity. It was the first in the world in 1998. And over transportation capacity, this metro line was designed with the ambition of changing transportation experience for our customers. Rapidity of traveling, modernity of our station, new services in station, and also disabled access standards. After a few months, from 1998, the Line 14 became the most popular line in Paris region, with a high level of services recognized daily by our customers. And the line was extended 2 times in 2003 and 2007. After 15 years of success, the Grand Paris Express program is leading Line 14 to a major transformation, as this line will become the backbone of the new metro network for Paris region. In 10 years, from 2015 to 2024, toward the Olympic Games in 2024, the Line 14 will be extended 3 times. The first one has been made in 2020, so two extensions are coming to the north and to the south, and the line will be doubling in terms of number of stations and in terms of length. Moreover, all train and all operating system will be changed to increase comfort and capacity for our customers. These 2 extensions to the north and to the south are a huge investment, around 2.8 billion euros, and also 0.5 billion euros for the rolling stock. This extension will serve new districts under development in the north of Paris, will also reduce journey time for the people living in the south, and also we will create a strategic connection between railway station in the city center of Paris to Orly Airport. Let's imagine that you will be able to move from Paris to Orly in only 20 minutes with one train every 2 minutes. So with this extension in 2024, the line will reach 1 million passengers a day, which is a very important traffic for a metro line. So this is a strong challenge for every RATP teams. So everybody, of course, is working from a technical point of view to create the station, the tunnel, but we are also working in an operation and maintenance point of view and about our organization, because the challenge is also about the diversity of the customers that we will serve. Some of them will come from Orly for business, for tourists, but we will also have daily passengers that are using the line to go to work in Paris. So I would like to say that as the pioneers of the Line 14 in the 90s, we had to think and foreseen what could be the new services in 2024, and this is the subject of this study, 14 at Orly.
Great. Thank you, Emmanuel, for this clear presentation. Thank you for having shared with us the opportunity, but also the bottlenecks ahead for the next few years. Saying that, we move to Sarah. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit more about the expectations, the needs, but also the fears of our future passengers?
Yes.
Please.
Thank you, Shadi, and hello to all. I'm very glad to share the work that has been done over a quite significant period of time and involving several people that I take the opportunity to thank here. So Emmanuel has shared the big challenges that the line is going to overcome or have to overcome in the upcoming years. So the first step was indeed customer understanding in a deliberate customer-centric approach. So I'll be going through this part fairly quickly to be sure that we have enough time to grasp the service innovations. But it has been a thorough and important process. We've gathered the existing data that we've complemented specifically on Line 14 with 6 complementary studies, starting with one important study that was carried out between December 2019 and February 2020, so before the COVID crisis, to understand what are the future clients. So what are the impacts of extensions up north and south in terms of change of profiles, but also the change in the line uses. Understand what are the requirements and expectations of our clients, the different priorities. And it enabled to highlight the different subjects that we should deep dive in. For instance, the focus on visitors welcoming services throughout the customer journey, the role, the human dimension, the role, the visibility, the script that human dimension should have on this very crowded line, and that is going to have daily commuters, both with international visitors. The fourth subject we investigated is connectivity. We know it's an important matter for foreigners, for international visitors. So what are the market standards, also in the hospitality industry? The fifth, which is not the least, is about load information, both in trains and in the spaces. And the last one is how Orly Airport should be served, comparing attractivity with Line 14. So all these studies have been detailed, very much so. You'll be able to find the top lines in the white papers that we've published this week, and that you'll be able to find on our website that I think you have underneath. So in any case, if we mix all these studies up, we can come up with 8 big conclusions that are useful insights to introduce the work that you will be presenting in a couple of minutes. So on a global standpoint, what we can say is that there is indeed an increased level of demand and complexity that will have to be addressed on the line. The first insight is, and Emmanuel started saying so, the new client's profile that will have to be addressed, that it will be arriving on the line with increased demand and with specific needs. We know, for example, that we'll have increased number of not frequent travelers, one-time travelers, occasional travelers, the international visitors, of course, packed with luggage and not speaking the language, but also local residents will have increased demand. We know, for instance, that 23% of local residents of Paris-Île-de-France region will be more frequent or new users of the line, and 52% of the new users will be reducing their use of a personal car, so most probably be expecting more comfort and more fluidity. And all these people are going to coexist on the line, this crowded line and automated line. The second insight is that even though the extensions north and south are positively perceived, the local residents do already rouse some reservations. They, in a way, fear of losing what makes Line 14 the best in class. 32% of local residents fear of losing the security, and 29% lose a loss of comfort because of the increase of crowd, promiscuity, and a lesser regularity. So in a way, losing an overall safe atmosphere. The third insight is that we'll have to be dealing with 3 operating contexts from the very outset, meaning first situation, high traffic periods, second, off-peak periods with no significant traffic increase, and of course, disturbed situations with a specific focus on flow management that will be needed. And given these 3 first insights, and in line with what makes Line 14's DNA, clients are expecting indeed a high quality level of service, be it digital, physical, or human, and especially in terms of client welcoming and presence, with a particular care of vulnerable clients, reduced mobility clients, and visitors, of course. As a fifth insight, and let's say beyond the different facets that makes the excellence of the service mix, we'll have a big challenge in terms of human dimension, and especially the human-centered services carried by staff. They're going to have increased skills and newly positioned in space. I've already mentioned the increased skills in terms of welcoming and presence, particular care for vulnerable clients, but also much more visible and that enables to identify this staff. The second set of skills that are going to be important are the dealing with security and tense situations. So this is going to be a tough one. And we know also that there is a strategic positioning that is going to be required, that are the station platforms, both for information and flow management. And of course, let's not forget the question of languages, with a massive and fluent use of foreign languages that will be necessary in the upcoming future. The sixth conclusion, and it's important, is of course the studies confirm, and this is obvious, it's not new to us, that clients are expecting a top-notch, top-of-the-range passenger information that is of course seamless, real-time and reassuring, well-positioned in space, meaning before arriving to the station, sort of touch screens, to even the trains with geolocated information, not forgetting in the stations and in the platforms, contextualized information, and of course adapted to all our targets, especially the air travelers, with eventually information on the next air flights and so on, that will have also to be managed maybe by our staff. The next conclusion that is interesting also is that the clients are expecting seamless connection with Metroline 14's environment. So beyond, of course, the connection with transport and intermodality, conventional or new modes, clients are expecting connections with the urban dimension, the territories, the activity, the economical background of Line 14. And last, the eighth and final conclusion that we can highlight here is how Orly Airport is going to be served. We know that with the extension down south, Line 14 is going to concentrate up to 35% of share choice of the clients to ensure their ride back and forth to Orly Airport. So we know that this is going to increase even more the saturation that we already can foresee on the Line 14. So it's going to be compulsory to think of a multimodal offer to go to Orly, with a smart mix between buses, Orlybus, a bus ensuring the same trajectory as Line 14, for example, with some partnerships with taxi services or chauffeur-driven car services. So these are the 8 conclusions that we believe are interesting insights to be able to introduce the work that you're going to go through now in a minute.
Great, many brilliant thanks, Sarah, for having summarized such heavy and high quality client study, which is providing an excellent input to the work that you will present to us. Please, you.
Thank you, Shadi. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, you can imagine that this material, this intellectual material, was very important for us to allow us to do a very good job in service design. And for that, I will present first the challenges we had to face. If I say again, the unprecedented situation in which we have to prepare, is that we'll have to serve international passengers arriving with luggage mixed to daily commuters in flows going back home or going to work in the morning on a line which is operated with a headway of 80 seconds at peak hours. So for that, we have absolutely to have a customer-centric approach in the design of the solutions or of the principles which will become the solutions. with in mind the target, the very strategic target of Paris Olympic 2024. And because we know it's a very complete metro line is not a very simple place. It's very complicated. We have to create an adoption by many stakeholders. So the study had to deliver concrete results to make easier the adoption of the principles. So for that, we've made some strategic choices. Emmanuel has told that the density, the intensity of the investment was very high already. You can see the figures here. I will not repeat them. So we have decided to focus on the services. That means digital, physical, and human sides of the service in a holistic enhancement of the infrastructure. And for that, we have chosen to work with a specialized service design agency called User Studio. The method which has been proposed for our study is a bit original, in fact, because of course at the beginning we have read the hundreds of pages coming from Sarah and her team, but also we have made some shadowing observations of the international passengers who have looked at their behaviors, and we have interviewed travelers and experts to try to understand what will happen in the coming years. And because of the situation of the present health crisis, which can blur an incremental approach, which could make that not as reliable as expected, we have decided to jump to 2050 to create for ourselves a vision through some hypothesis of scenarios and come back to 2024, considering this deadline as a first step of a big evolution. And to ensure all the proposals we had to give at the end of the study, we were surrounded by some experts coming from outside and inside the company. They have challenged the making of the study. They have challenged the results, and they have pushed us to select what is important, what is not important. They were coming from foreign railways, from the environment world, from urban placemaking. There was an artist. They're coming, of course, from the air economy, airports, and about accessibility, customer relation, innovation, urban hubs, and safety. And this was really important to enrich the collective thinking in which we had to work. So, this is the first page of the results. As you know, a service design method is based on something which is very, very important. It's a customer journey map. So it structures where the service has to be delivered. And it structures the way a customer is perceiving the service he's consuming through points which are called the touch points. So it's perhaps strange that you see 17 touch points to describe a metro service. But in fact, a platform is not only one touch point. It has to be considered as one touch point when you enter in the metro, another touch point when you go out, another touch point if you wait there to have a meeting with other travelers. So these 17 touch points describe correctly what travel on an urban travel should be. But in fact, you will see that we have added some touch points before the travel to Paris. So after having done this 2050 vision, we have chosen some specific service principles to design the services. First, of course, we have to streamline and to rationalize all the journeys. not only for international travelers with luggage, but also for local people, because there will be an interference between the different customers. And if there is a bad flow for daily commuters, it will have an influence on people who are loaded with luggage. And the second principle seems perhaps a bit naive, but in fact, it's very important. A metro is a place where people don't pay attention to the others because it's the daily use. But in fact, if we introduce some goodwill towards one another, we can hope that in some situations which can be difficult, for example, some disturbed situation, the visitors can be first helped by the local people who will be instinctively at their service, because our staff will come, but afterwards. The third principle is that, you know, we are not living always in a positive world now. So all these challenges, all the threats we have to face can be corrected by some anticipation from RATP. And we want to present Line 14 as a safe and protecting environment. The fourth principle is that when you arrive in Paris, people visit, also, of course, the monuments, but also they want to see the people, the citizens, how we live here in this region, big region. And the Greater Paris has many inhabitants with activities which could be shown on our premises. So this is a principle which is not yet really exploited in our global design. And to finish, it's a bit easy to say that, but a metro line is a good solution in a low-carbon approach. But all the services we have to add should be also imagined with this low-tech and low-carbon approach. So these 5 principles have been applied, and we have proposed almost 50 services on these 17 touch points, classified in 3 families. Please don't be afraid, I will not describe the 50. I don't have any time. But for me, it's a bit frustrating because the study is very rich, and of course everything is presented in the white paper. But I will insist on the 3 titles: provide a warm welcome, produce comprehensive information, and support streamlined journeys. It seems very banal, in fact. Yes, you have done several years studies to say that, okay, but in fact, the details are very important. How to provide a warm welcome, how to touch everyone's need. So this is the main work we have done, and I will present that I will present a selection of services. So first, providing a warm welcome. One of the studies made by the commercial department, Sarah has presented, was about the welcoming with another service design agency, Yellow Window. And we have discovered that welcoming is not only with a welcoming desk, it's an attitude from the beginning to the end. And for example, it means that we can begin before the journey. So we want to propose a digital companion, a travel kit to go to Paris, an arrival kit on everybody's smartphone, for example, with passes, low carbon or no hurry travel passes, which can be added to pay in advance, and then many tips about Paris and the public transport network. And also something which is very interesting to do is to offer some in offline, some podcasts of expats in their own language speaking about Paris. So this is a good preparation public transport system can offer to a visitor. And the same tool, after arrival in Orly, can be used as an onboarding system. It means an onboarding on the public transport network. When the smartphone will be connected, it will give an access to the network, because with the NFC principle, the smartphone can become a ticket. But of course, there will be also another service, like the first itinerary to go to the first destination, because the visitor will have been invited to enter its own language, his first address, so that it will be guided through the assistant which he is discovering. And of course, if he doesn't want to, or she doesn't want to use the smartphone as a ticket, it can be a voucher to get something more classical. After that, we know also that everybody is not digital, that there are people who are a bit uncomfortable with all these tools. So they will not be lost, because we want our staff to be there, really visible, really in a welcoming attitude, with their own digital companion, which will give them some helps about the dialogues they can have in many languages. And as you can see here, we can imagine also a screenshot with some pictograms with which the dialogue can be begin between a visitor and our staff. And last but not the least, one of the very interesting services we have imagined is this video assistance by remote helpers. You can see here Antonio da Silva, a Portuguese-speaking colleague from RATP. For example, from the commercial department, he has registered himself during 3 hours on Saturday afternoon, and he will be available to help the local staff through a tablet and with loudspeakers to help Portuguese-speaking visitors who arrive in there. What service! Really direct and very human, but assisted by a digital tool. So you can imagine that through this welcoming, warm welcome approach, we have invented, also proposed many other services. I can't list them. I will enter in the second category, second family, which is information. So first of all, I have to say that the classical displays of an information system, that to say signage, maps, screens, must be everywhere. You can see that on the Paris network, and it will not be less than that. It's really a very important system. A metro without signage doesn't work. But in fact, in this situation, we have imagined some additional services which are really interesting. For example, about the language, how to create translated messages for disrupted situation. When you arrive, when you don't understand, attention, sur la ligne 14, un problème. So, if you don't understand, you are worrying, what is he saying? But we imagine that if the visitor has entered his language, he can get a notification saying that the announcement is repeated on the smartphone in his own language. For example, here it's in Greek, because we imagine somebody coming from Athens. So you imagine the quality of this service? But of course, there's another challenge, is to translate these type of messages on the screens or on the public announces through automatic translators, for which we are already working. And these are really important tools we have to propose for the Olympics, and I hope before. Another domain which is very interesting is how to help people the local ones, the Parisians, and the visitors to deal with the crowd, because it will be a saturated line. So at some times, not everywhere, at every moment, of course. We have already here, on the digital companion, or on the RATP app, an indication about the crowding of the lines, but it's crowdsourced. And we can imagine after that the platform car load indicators, which are shown here, to help people to behave, to wait for the next train. Imagine one train every 80 seconds is nothing. So even if you wait 2 or 3 trains, if you arrive in, take a train in Orly, it's really reliable. But we want to add something which is new, which is this service here in strategic points with an alternative to line 14. There are 4 or 5 stations where there are parallel lines to the line 14, which could allow to make the flow better and to give the choice to the traveler. Oh yes, today I will not take the line 14, I will take the 7, for example, in Maison Blanche. And this is a very precisely designed service structure which came through the service design method. For example, here, there are already an example here from Japan with the Tokyo Central Circle line, where JR East offers the temperature and the load of all the cars of all the trains. So you can imagine that this information field is huge. We can go further, for example, by giving something for the passengers going back to Orly, how we could give some information about the flights arriving and departing from Orly, but also something else, adding some slowdown distractions on the stations. If people can see that the trains are really crowded, if they have an activity to wait, why not? If, of course, it's correctly dimensioned. So the third domain, the third family, is about going with the people during along their journeys. So, customer journey map, it's the main tool we have in service design. So it's a map, and we can match all the touch points where there are some pain points. And one of the pain points we know for a metro line is the luggage. So when you arrive in Paris, we'll not propose a special service like in some other countries, but we think that we have to manage the mix of laden passengers and of hurried passengers in a hurry who are going to their work. And for that, we propose to add a series of points strategically located to help them. For example, here you can see on some different places, even in the trains, some points lit by a purple light. Purple because it's the color of the line, but it could be something else. And people would jump from one point to another as you are in the landscape, in the countryside, and you can discover a mountain or something. But here, it's a very practical tool, helping really people to go on the flow, but beside the main flow. You can see here on Montreal the principle of indicating some points through light. We know it's possible. Another point we want to propose is that when you take the metro. Many times you are not alone. You can give a meeting to colleagues or friends coming from another hotel. So, or you want to meet some local people. Where? It's always difficult to say, let's meet there. It's not always easy. So we want to add some points, meeting points, which is really a service by itself. External ones, internal ones, in the stations, outside, in some greened places around the stations. And you can see here in Denfert-Rochereau in Paris, a place we have treated in front of the area stations always, and it will follow a recommendation written by our colleagues of the Société du Grand Paris, SGP, and who have published this document, Place du Grand Paris, which has been pushed also by Île-de-France Mobilité, our public transport authority. And to finish, the last example I want to say is that these entrances could take another importance in the city. Because in a city, the metro is important, but sometimes the entrance is not as visible as possible. And it could answer to other functions than entering or exiting a station. And here, some ideas which has been proposed is to upgrade some entrances to create value for the passengers, for the neighborhood, for the cityscape. And of course, if people can wait there, we can also imagine one of the other services which is not described in my presentation is some additional electric bus feeder lines to serve passengers with luggage in some districts with high density of hotels, but arriving to secondary stations of Line 14. So, you know, with all my descriptions, I hope you are as frustrated as me, because we have other services to present, but I have to finish. And my conclusion will be in 2 pages. First of all, I want to say that we will not stay here. It's the delivery of the research exploration study, and a follow-up will be built to go further, because we want the ideas being adopted by many takers, and in the RATP group, and in the Île-de-France mobility ecosystem. So not only us, because the cities, the authority, and other companies, other subsidiaries could do some development. And for that, what will be very important is to install a cross-cutting governance, because if not, it can be really something with a big disorder in a few years. So we want to monitor the maturity increase of all these concepts. And to finish, about service design, I have explained at the beginning that I have pushed to choose this discipline for this study. But in fact, it has proved again that it's a good discipline to explore and structure upstream phases of systemic issues, of complex issues. And because it guarantees coherence and continuity for the customers, and it facilitates the decision makers' strategies, because it's easy to know what they want to get at the end. So thanks to User Studio, our service and agency, we have discovered again that mobility is really an ideal playground for service design. So this is the last page of my presentation, and I will propose you to have a repetition of what I've said through a video which is prepared by User Studio.
A major expansion is planned for the Paris region's fully automated subway Line 14 for 2024, just in time for the Olympic Games, extending it north to the town of Saint-Denis and south to Orly International Airport. It will trim the airport to city centre trip to 25 minutes and double the line's passengers to 1 million a day, with the metro every 80 seconds during rush hour. The project aims to improve access to Paris, link the region's strategic areas, and keep the capital relevant as a world economic hub. Unlike an express train, Line 14 will have local residents riding side by side with international travellers, lugging suitcases, and often using the metro for the first time. This set the RATP, the main regional transport operator, thinking about how to accommodate this new, bigger mix while keeping traffic flowing smoothly. The result was the Servais design project, which came up with more than 45 proposals to shape the passenger experience, as part of a larger study called 14 at Orly, co-financed by the INEA. These explored ways to integrate customer relations, digital resources, and architectural features into a transit journey, offering a warm welcome, clear information, and a smooth trip. Here are a few examples. All are still in the study phase and need further sponsorship and development before they find their place in the transport network. A warm welcome. To help travellers feel at ease, they can buy different types of tickets online before their journey, including a low-carbon pass, a card that would give access to all eco-friendly transport in the city. Visitors can also download a Paris Welcome Kit onto their smartphones with tips and information about the capital and its transport options. This will include video clips by expat residents or foreign travellers to give an insider view in their native language. RATP personnel will be equipped with translation and video conference tools to help non-French speaking riders. The RATP worker can contact a colleague who speaks the tourist language to act like a live translator to answer questions. Clear information. To help guide traffic flow in real time, signs called crowd monitors will be on display in key stations throughout the network to propose alternative routes if Line 14 is too crowded. If there is a problem, a service called Announcement Repeater will offer riders a written version on their smartphone of any loudspeaker announcement in the language of their choice. On the ride to the airport, screens will display how much time is left before arrival at Orly's different terminals. Other screens will have a QR code so travellers can access direct information on flight arrivals and departures. A smooth trip. For impaired or elderly travellers, or those loaded down with suitcases, baby strollers, or other items, a series of rest stops will be set up. They can be easily spotted so slower travellers can follow their own pace without disrupting the crowds. A series of meeting points, both inside and outside the network, will offer riders a place to take a break, arrange a meeting, or, why not, have a chance encounter with a friendly stranger. These are only a few of the numerous proposals that grew out of the 14 at Orly service design project. They reflect the RATP's commitment to excellence in developing the future Line 14 of the Paris Metro.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hugh, for this appealing overview of all different services that we can have on our metro lines. That was great, and thank you very much. Emmanuel, me, and all our colleagues from RATP Metro Line 14, we are looking forward to have all these services available soon for our passengers. So thank you you too. It was great. So if you're okay, we can open the questions from the audience. We have many questions, so I will choose a few ones. We will do our best in order to cover several questions. So if you can keep and make your questions concise, that would be wonderful, okay? So let's go through the questions. There is a question, very interesting questions, but a difficult one. You propose many ideas, 50 already. How do you imagine implementing them?
Okay, that's, there are three answers for that.
Okay.
I have prepared a bit myself about this question, but I was sure this question would arrive. First of all, we have to organize this governance of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Because this was an exploration phase, and we have to enter an experimentation, prototyping phase. This is not a play. We have to create the structure of the work, and we will have a selection of that. Through this governance, the second answer is that we will have some takers. The internal and external takers of the ideas will have to present how they can reach the results. And in function of that, we'll choose the ones to support or not. But the third one is the customer studies, which will arrive later. Yeah. Because, you know, if we don't do only what is feasible, perhaps it will not be interesting.
Of course.
So we'll have to match to the expectation coming from the passengers. So, yeah, the work now will be very important.
Of course, I do agree with you. Thank you, you. Second, the next question, and a very interesting one. So we have a question on how do you balance the expectations of international travelers and local commuters? Their expectations or needs could be in conflict? Maybe, Sarah, this is for you.
Well, yes, indeed, it has been a question mark all over 2020 because also of the COVID crisis, how to address this balance. And in a way, it wasn't really a question given the challenges and the huge challenges that Metroline 14 is going to be facing. It was important for us to take from the very beginning the highest standard in terms of client expectations, and those are the tourists. In terms of welcoming, in terms of complementarity of digital, all the tools we have available in hands. So in a way, for us, addressing tourists is addressing the overall big challenge of this crowded line.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have a question for you, Emmanuel. I think this is for you. At our level, line information is provided at rolling stock screens. On rolling stock screens. Very interesting and useful equipment, actually. Will it be deployed at line 14 extensions?
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you for this question. So, since the beginning of last year, in 2020, we are renewing the fleet of rolling stock of line 14. We've got a new 8-car train. Yeah. And it will be deployed on the line 14 up to the extension to Orly. So we will buy 72 of this train. And this is a new generation of train. And in this train, we've got 2 screens per car. So we will use these screens to make passenger information, dynamic passenger information. For instance, when you've got an incident of the line, we can use this screen to provide information in real time for our passengers. So we have just started it from the end of last year. So we will continue and we will improve these systems. Maybe with some of the ideas that were in the presentation of you, we will see. But this system already exists and will be improved towards 2024.
Great, thank you.
May I add an answer to your question? It means that it's also the answer to the first question. We have already some developments which have begun on some parts of the network, the Île-de-France network. Also, perhaps we don't know all on some other networks of the RATP group. So the challenge of this innovation program is to gather that in a set which will be clear for everybody. So the Orlyval experiment is very important to feed what we have to know to create the content of the information, real-time information on the line 14 tomorrow.
Indeed, indeed, of course. Yes, we have a question on a key topic of the project. This is for you, Jo. It's a question on the luggage management. So, have you studied the specific services relevant to luggage management in the project?
Yes, of course, we have studied the point. From the beginning, I was bringing the Hong Kong and the Vienna example with the central city checking service, which is fantastic in Hong Kong. But we have remembered that this was not solving all the issues.
Of course.
And it's a personal example also, but when I arrived several times in Hong Kong with my luggage, in Admiralty Station, when I've tried to enter in the Island Line, it was impossible. So this type of service serves the departing passengers, but not the arriving passengers. So the welcoming can be very tough. So because of that, we have chosen from the beginning to mix all the flows and to try, with the assistance of the staff, to create a good conditions to make this co-living of several types of passengers. Because we know that in international metropolis, this situation will be really the normal situation and one of my friends was telling me that, oh, when I arrived in Paris, I've seen so many people with luggage. And I'm used to see that. But indeed, in the metro, you have everywhere people with luggage, and we have to help them even in peak hours normally.
Yes. Thank you very much. And maybe the last question for you, Sarah. It's on the COVID crisis. We have a question on how have you attended the question of decreasing number of tourists due to the COVID crisis?
Well, yes, this is a very interesting, of course, question, and I've started answering in my earlier question. Indeed, what we know from numbers before the COVID crisis is that we would go through 30 million air arrivals in 2019 in Orly Airport. And what was planned was up to 40 million in 2025. So we had that in mind and sort of panicked about load and traffic. But in a way, this is, of course, going to be increasing the challenge, but we already have it from the very start, even without tourists. And we already notice with the extension up north that it's already challenging. Profile of clients have already changed, and it's not the same comfort. So let's say that this is the first part of the answer. And in any case, Paris is going to be hosting the Olympic Games in 2024. So this is something that we had in mind as being also compulsory for us to sort of know better clients on this standpoint. And our belief is also that the profile of the clients, tourists, will change probably. The long distance tourists will probably take a little longer to come back. But city breakers, which are the most frequent travelers in Paris, will come soon, are already coming. We have traffic, we have train stations that are also going to be bringing French tourists. So tourist overall is a key aspect that we have to know and address on Metro Line 14.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. That was a pleasure to have you on stage with us. So we are arriving at the end of our first part of this webinar. We will take a very short break, just 5 minutes, in order to prepare the final panel discussions. Staying with us, please. Thank you. Yes, we are back again. Thank you for having stayed with us. So we start our final part of the webinar with a panel discussion and with a distinguished guest from outside the RATP group. So today we have the chance to have Yasunari Nakajima with us. Good afternoon, Yasunari. He's Senior Fellow from GR East. Thank you. We have also Damien Perrault with us, Global Senior Vice President Design from Accorcraft. Good afternoon, Damien. Thank you for having accepted our invitation. And we have Frédéric Sorin, Head of Customer Experience from Group ADP, Airports of Paris, or Paris Airports, yes. And at distance, we have Matthew Marino with us, Director and Partners of User Studio, which is our partner on this project. Hi, Matthew. Great to have you with us today. Yeah, great. So I will start our panel discussion with important questions on the services on the presentation of you, the previous presentation. You were also the member of the expert committee, so you know the set of almost 50 services propositions have been built in a holistic approach. I'm eager to have your feedback on these propositions. So if you can share with me and with our audience your feedback, and if there is, please tell us which ones are more interesting or more essentials for you. So let's start with Damien, please.
So first of all, thank you very much. It was an honor for me, and I had very good time as an expert for this fantastic let's say journée, if I can call it this like it. What I like to say is definitively the big change that you bring to the table. I don't want to mention one or two typical services, because I think everyone are very important. It's really the combination of everything. You know, when we talk about design, and one of the definition of design, it's really enable or facilitate the life of the people in order to really make them forget all the constraints and experience something, and to get finally emotion. So what you've done here is you combine physical, digital, and human, let's say, attitude and services in order to provide that services. And I can give you just a few examples that it's a good combination. First of all, it's about the welcoming of Parisian. The Parisian who live in Paris, I call them the locals, but also the one who will be Parisian only for a couple of hours or a couple of days, and that's the one the travelers are coming from different region or different country. So the digital solution implemented will help them to prepare their journey and to be really welcome when they arrive in the city, and finally know exactly how they can use the metro and all the services at their disposal, in order to better understand what they can do and facilitate their stay. The other one is the one who support the people from RATP, because it's very important to take care about them as well in order to make them really comfortable and to really be completely open to the client in order to better enhance, let's say, their experience and facilitate their stay. So if you want to advise someone on what to do on whatever, the language is very key. So the fact having those augmented RATP people with a tool that can translate automatically, it's a very good tool. And then the other one, which is more physical, is all the design you implement in order to let's say eliminate one of the biggest pain points for traveler, which is the luggage. And the luggage it's really something, a nightmare all the time for the travelers, but also for the one who do not have luggage but has been hurt, etc. So you have created lots of design solutions in order to facilitate that. So it's just 3 examples, you know, very different, but that really combine everything in order to make life better for everyone.
Great, thank you. I know this is a difficult question that I'm asking to you, and actually this that you have mentioned, to empower our colleagues to be comfortable in their mission, this is essential for us in order to support our clients and their needs. I do agree with you on this point. It's very important. So I move to Frédéric. Thank you again for being with us. Same question with you. If you can share your feedback on these propositions, please.
Thank you, Shadi. Good afternoon. To provide the passenger with a successful experience in Groupe ADP airports, we ensure that we enable customers to better anticipate and optimize the travel time in our terminal. We offer the best of the Parisian experience through the unique range of shops and services. We simplify and personalize customer service and the experience of each individual, particularly through digital technology. And we innovate and constantly improve the quality of service to remain at the level of the best European and world-class airports. In this sense, and I agree with you, of course, all the work that has been done within the scope of this project is going in the good sense, in good direction. However, if I had to choose 2 case services, I would choose translated messages and announcement repeaters in the context of our work to make the airport quieter and to simplify the life of half of our customer who doesn't speak French. This service will be useful, very useful in our terminal and in the right way to go to our terminal. I would also choose relay points besides the flow. Depending on their profile and their knowledge of the areas, our passengers have very different circulation patterns in and around the airport. It is important to allow them to stand aside with their group, with their luggage, to help them familiarize themselves with the space and with available information. This will make them feel more relaxed and satisfied.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent opportunity for us to work with you for the airports in order to find a perfect balance between the services provided in the terminals and what we can provide on our metro line. Thank you again. So I move to Matthew. Matthew, your feedback, of course, on these services, please.
Yeah, hi, Shadi. Hi, everyone. So one of the things that we were very happy about, very excited about this project is that we could work on a passenger experience to make it, of course, more efficient, which is key when you have passengers with heavy luggage, but also to make it a more desirable experience. And I think that's particularly important, maybe for at least 2 reasons. One, because, of course, RATP needs to differentiate itself, or wants to continue to differentiate itself from its competitors. But it's also super important to make things desirable, to keep encouraging people to use public transportation, which we really know is kind of essential to minimize congestion and pollution within cities. And I guess to that end, maybe I'd like to highlight 2 of the services that were part of the project. One is the video assistance and translation tools, with the remote helpers that Yo mentioned previously. I think this is a really interesting way to welcome foreigners. But I think it's also a good balance between, let's say, the human interactions, the architectural features, but also the digital tools that are needed to provide an attractive service experience. And maybe the second service proposal that I'd like to highlight is the rooftop near the metro entrance that Yo also showed previously. So this could, of course, be like a meeting point, a rest stop. So if you're a Parisian, if you're a foreigner, but if you're a foreigner, it's also maybe a great place to have like a chance encounter with a Parisian, a local. And this proposal, I think, is a way to make sure that people feel connected to the city, feel connected to locals, which is super important today because we've noticed that tourism, is not just about seeing the Eiffel Tower. It's also about feeling connected in a more authentic way to the city. And I think this is also a very representative idea of what RATP would like to become in the future, which is not just a transportation provider, but also a service provider that creates an amazing city experience.
Of course. Thank you very much, Matthew. I do agree with you. Actually, Metroline is not an isolated system. We have our role to play in order to facilitate the interaction between our Metroline transport system and the environment. So it's a very important point. Thank you very much. And I move to you, Yasunari. Thank you again. And if you can share your feedback with us.
Thank you, Sherry. And to RATP, thanks for giving me an opportunity to participate in these studies. I have joined and observed many projects to reconstruct and create new station and train service of JR East as a one-off staff and a manager and a director in 33 years. Japan National Railway failed to provide good service and bankrupted because service fell below standard. I didn't want to use it. From my long experiences in Japan, I think this study and report include every necessary and feasible services. If you ask me to emphasize one thing, I strongly recommend. I love the service. The station staff will be like a concierge guiding the area and the transport in Paris. And I also love the service that is friendly to travelers. I think it will make Paris much more attractive. All the other ideas are great. There may be too much to do, and they may be selfish, I think, but they are not independent. They will be fused and harmonized by digital technology and human hospitality and good design. It creates synergetic effect, just like playing an orchestra. I think the success of Line 14 will make Parisians smile and increase enthusiasm funds. And this success will give an impact on French and global rail services. Fusion and harmony are the key to success. I believe it. And RATP can achieve to it, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. I do agree with you. And actually treating our clients, our passengers as real guests on our line, it's in the philosophy of RATP. It's our ambition. We are working on it. And as you said, we should take care of this in a holistic approach. We cannot just choose one or two services. It's a total system that we should build in order to satisfy the different needs and expectations of our clients. Thank you very much. So saying that, I move forward to my second question, this time on the methodology that we have applied and we have used. Thanks to you during this project, service design, that was great. And so I would like to know and have your opinion on this service design in a user-centric approach that we have tried to apply. And if you can tell us if you use it in your company, that would be wonderful. So Damien, I start with you, please.
So definitively, we have a lot in common between Accor and RATP, and this process is really something we use. We use the same similar process. We're working a lot with designer when we would like to work on a new brand, or when we would like to work on an existing brand, but really redefine the brand equity, identity, and the design direction of those brands. And if I just give you an example with Novotel, where we had designers coming from South America, Middle East, Russia, and Europe and Asia, to all together really think about this new dynamic that we need to bring to the brand. So it is in fact a very interesting methodology, and even if when we start the process together with RATP, I must say, a bit afraid, because we went very, very far, and I was like, wow, what are we gonna get going so far, exploring everything? But it's very interesting. It was really about resetting completely everything that we had in mind about what is RATP or was RATP, and think a little bit a step forward in order to bring something new and really, I don't like to say really innovate. It's not the idea of innovate for innovation. It's really how we can bring something that will bring a lot to the people who's going to use it. And the other things I would like to add, it's another common point that we have together, is that Metro, thanks to what you've done, really become the best place to discover Paris. Because Paris, of course, there is the monument, etc., but you can already see that on internet. When you feel Paris, you need to be connected with people. Yeah. And that's really what you bring with this project, and that's what we are trying to do also in the hotel, in order to bring Parisians in the hotel, and not only for travelers, in order that the people who travel also have that connection together. And I think the next step will be how we can connect the Metro with the hotel and play that new role on the evolution of the city globally.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to have a chance to working again with you on this topic and try to find the interactions and complementary between your environment, the hotels in the hospitality industry, and our transport sector. And actually, I do agree with you. People come also to Paris in order to discover this Parisian style, and it's very important to be able to provide this on our metro line in your hotels, of course. Thank you very much, Damien. So I move to Frederic. The same questions. Tell us if Group ADP, we use this methodology or not?
Yes, of course. Our passengers are naturally at the center of our concerns, and we are constantly listening to them through all available tools like survey or community observatory. We regularly use design thinking methods to anticipate their changing needs of our passengers, and their line partners. As an example, we use this type of approach to think about the future design of Terminal 4. We brought together groups of experts and groups of customers with a different profile, and this customer were chosen among the members of our customer community. For the past 3 years, this community has included 1,000 customers. We exchange with them by email several times a month. And these exchanges are very, very rich, and sometimes give the member of the Group ADP Executive Committee the opportunity to hear the customer's voice with full transparency over lunch. We already have a meeting with them, with our customer next month, to understand the impact of the pandemic on their mobility in the short, medium, and long term. And this concerns mobility in the wider sense of the word, taking the plane, of course, but also getting to the airport, And tomorrow, I have no doubt they will be pleased with Metro Line 14 to Orly. Thank you very much for allowing me to reflect with you in this very beautiful project and to get inspired by your diverse experience.
Thank you to you for all the inputs on this project, and thank you for having shared with us the insight from this amazing ongoing project in your company. So before moving to Matthew, I would like just to thank you again, Damien, for having participated in this webinar. Thank you for all you have brought to this project, because in order to respect the sanitary measures and in order to respect social distances, Damien will leave us, and we will ask you to join us on this stage for the final conclusion of this webinar. And now I will move to Matthew. Matthew, you was actually our lead expert on this methodology. You and your team, that was very great to work with you. We have learned about. So tell us a little bit about this experience with RATP during this project.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. I mean, first, I guess I want to say that this was really an amazing project, and we really loved working with all of you. Some of the key challenges for this project, I couldn't necessarily go into all the details because, it was like a multi-layered project. But maybe one of the key challenges was first finding the right directions for such a large, complex topic and such a, let's say, extended exploration project. And I guess some of the ways that we found interesting to do this were first gathering the committee of experts, so which included Damien, Frédéric, and Yasunari, who are all here. And this really made sure that, we were able to have like a 360 view and could not forget any of the stakes or any of the, parameters that needed to be taken into account for such a topic. So that was really, I think, a really interesting aspect. And maybe the other one, which is kind of an extension of this first, is, we worked by projecting into what the line 14 could be in 2050 before we came back to 2024. And I think this helped us also enhance certain of the stakes or certain of the constraints or parameters that would need to be taken into account, some that we might have not forgotten or not seen as clearly had we not done this. And maybe one of the key ingredients that helped us to find the right directions, and I think this is something that's often overlooked in projects because we talk about methodology, but I guess a project is also kind of a human adventure. Yeah, I think it's the trust and time and guidance that Yo and his team and you, Shadi, and everyone kind of gave us, and this allowed the initial thinking to emerge because, kind of as Damien said, some others might have gotten kind of worried in the initial stages of the project because we need to explore all over the place. Maybe they would have even shut the project down. But here we were able to avoid, diving into hasty, undigested decisions. So that's maybe the first point. And the second one, I guess, is more essential to what service design is itself, which is, making sure that the ideas and proposals, but also the deliverables are, of course, relevant, but also desirable. I think this idea is very key to what service design can do. And often, when we work on a forward-looking study project, the idea is to give recommendations, about what the new features for the company could be, how they might be built. And often these things are, very much recommendations, and they mostly focus on very functional proposals. And often the deliverables are very much, text-based documents, sometimes fairly abstract proposals. And here, of course, we provided recommendations, but the idea, and this is, completely intrinsic to service design, is also to actually design proposals that embody the concrete ways in which, future passengers could experience line 14, of course, to make sure that the experience is practical, but also to make sure that, the right personality, the right emotional connection between RATP and the travelers is conveyed. So I think it's so important to, incorporate that human touch, that desirable touch, both to get the buy-in for the project so it moves into its next stages, which could be, further studies for implementation, but also to ensure that the end users will adopt the services when the time comes.
Yeah, thank you. You are right. That was a human-centric approach, but also a human adventure. And this forecasting, backcasting exercise was a real added value of this project. Thank you, Matthew. And Yassine, could you share with us your opinion on the methodology, please?
Okay. Of course, we already respect the customer first. In the first place, the service should be customer-centric. We have already experienced the smile of customer motivates staff and gives a sense of accomplishment in their work. As a result, the number of passengers will increase, and income will increase also, and the service will be improved by using this profit. We need to make this positive spiral. And JR East changed what was said to be the worst service into good service that is welcomed by many customers now. The basic element was safety, the security, convenience, and comfort. With the station Renaissance project of JR East and the following variety of new services, our station has transformed from a mere transit point for passengers to a gathering space for customers in the 30 years. As a further improvement, we progress to make our station a hub to connect people, things, and experiences. This improvement is driven by customer feedback, I believe, and result reach us directly in the form of passenger numbers, the revenue, and the customer voice. Whether or not this evaluation can be fed back to the next step will be the key to success. I believe RATP has the power to implement and achieve them.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you, and thank you for this excellent example from outside France, from Japan. Thank you. So, all of you, thank you again for having accepted our invitation. Yo is on the stage with us, so Yo, please, if you can make the final conclusion of this panel discussion, please.
Yes, Shadi, with a great pleasure. I will never thank enough the User Studio agency and the experts internal to our RATP and external who have helped us to deliver something which is not a promise, which is like a commitment, because if we have chosen to present that to the public, it's not to put it in the ice fridge or on shelves, of course, but it will be a tough way, because for us, it's not an achievement, not an end, but it's a beginning of a long-lasting process. And I think that this study has shown that design can make innovation more reliable. I've already said that a few minutes before, but it makes the results visible, and you can touch it with your eyes. You know what you want to get. It's not technological oriented. Of course, technology is key, but if you know what you want to obtain, it's much better. But in this case, this mixture between technology and human, physical and digital, it was really a very, very interesting moment. We have jumped from one point to another, from minutes to minutes in our meetings. So due to the contribution, the level of expectations of our experts and of also the other clients in the company, I think we have begun to renew a way to do such complex innovation programs, to begin them. So I hope that with this study, we'll able to deliver in 2024 a real French touch service, which will gather the excellence of many things which are already existing, which are not exploited, mixed with an international approach, which is normal for a world metropolis like Paris.
Great.
So let's meet in 2024.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Yo. We are arriving at the end of our webinar. I have a very long thank you list, but unfortunately we don't have time, so I wouldn't mention the names. I would like to thank you first of all to our project team from inside RATP. That was wonderful to work with you. I would like also to thank you all our partners, a great experience with you, and of course our financial partner, the European Commission, and a special thanks to you, dear audience. Thank you for having stayed with us till the end of the webinar. I won't say goodbye to you. I would like to tell you, see you soon on Metro Line 14 to discover our new services. So see you soon. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.